Hey guys, this is Chris, and thank you for tuning in to the Unstable Opinions podcast. Before we get started in this episode, I just wanted to briefly mention something that's kind of important to the future of the podcast. If you've been anywhere around YouTube or the internet during the last week, you've probably heard about COPPA and the new regulations that the FTC is enforcing on YouTube content and what is and isn't considered content for kids. The guidelines are really vague, and at this point we don't really know what is going to be under attack once these new regulations are put into place. It might just be the top offenders that are obviously not for kids but are aiming their content towards kids, or whether they are actually going to do what they were saying they're going to do and just attack every channel and potentially be fining even just like smaller channels. If you've been following the podcast at all, you know that it's not necessarily aimed towards kids. We need to do a lot of cursing and talk about some stuff, but we do talk about stuff that might be considered kids content. Like, we do showcase gameplay of games like Smash Brothers and Mario Kart. We do talk about movies such as, in the case of this episode, we talk about Frozen 2, which is widely considered to be a kids movie, even though our podcast isn't necessarily aimed towards children. Under these new FTC regulations, we could potentially get in trouble for that, even if we mark our channel as not for kids. Like I said, it remains to be seen whether they're actually going to be targeting every single channel on YouTube for this, or whether it is just going to be the top offenders. But if they do attack YouTube creators with the scale that they're saying they're going to, and with these incredibly vague guidelines, it could mean the end for this podcast and a lot of other YouTube creators. So if you care at all about that, I put a link in the top of the description to sign a petition to stop these regulations from being put into place before being heavily revised. I personally think it's really important, and I'm really scared that in the future, if these aren't changed before they're put into place, that it could mean a lot of trouble for us and a lot of other creators. So thank you for listening. Enjoy the podcast, and please sign the petition if you care about that. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unstable Opinions. I am your single host, Gabriel. I killed the other two.
It's not true.
Wait a second.
They told me to come up with something, so that's what I got.
Well, that was certainly something.
That was our first.
That was a thing that you made up, and now we're here. Welcome to the Unstable Opinions podcast.
I'm not alone, actually.
That's Gabe. I'm Chris.
I'm Nick.
And we're gonna talk about some stuff today.
A lot of things.
Yeah. In case this is your first time listening, the way this podcast is kind of structured is we do some news at the beginning. We go around, share what we've been playing or watching in terms of like games or shows or movies or anything, and then we'll get into the long form review that we have planned, which today is Frozen 2, which we all just got back from seeing, and we'll talk about more fairly soon. But first, let's get into some news, which the great thing about doing this bi-weekly is that so much happens in 2 weeks. Like, you wouldn't think, like, you made me think, like, I was under the impression to be, like, 1 or 2 things. There's, like, I have, like, 6 things written down.
I was scared when we started this that, like, we wouldn't have that much to talk about, like, every 2 weeks. It would just kind of get boring.
Not to be Deadpool right now, but technically it's been 3 weeks for us this time.
Well, I mean, 3 weeks since last recording.
Yeah.
That's probably why it's so much crazier than
So
last
normally
time.
what we do is we record on our off Saturdays and then post it the week later. But what we've done is we're recording much later because we wanted to wait till Frozen 2 got out.
So this podcast is going to go up 2 days from when we filmed it or recorded it, because not only was I gone last weekend, so we couldn't record, but we were like, if we have to record it late, Frozen 2 is coming out, so we might as well wait. But anyway, now let's actually talk about some news items. So I'm going to kind of, some of this is probably stuff most people are already familiar with, So we're just kind of work from the earliest to the most recent. So first thing is the new trailer for the Sonic movie came out, showcasing his
Gotta go fast.
showcasing his redesign. So did you guys see that? I don't know. Yeah, you
I saw it and I loved it.
Yeah.
I've seen it so many times.
I'm seeing that on Valentine's Day with my imaginary partner.
I'm very impressed at how great the turnaround reaction has been ever since they released this trailer, because apparently the special effects in the first trailer were all they had done at that time. So it was lucky that they made the decision to they surely didn't anticipate it, but if they were gonna turn around and shift gears, that was the time to do it before they finished the movie. I think the new design looks great. I'm still not sure the movie's gonna be good.
I'm just happy that they took a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
From the trailer, I don't think the movie's gonna be the best thing ever, but Sonic himself is like a really good character just from the trailers.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that.
This movie has stuff that I'm excited to see, but it's got that thing where it is, very much the Hollywood CGI character from another world comes to us, and characters from our world have to deal with them, and it's they show Green Hill at the beginning of the trailer at the beginning of the new trailer for the movie. And it just makes me wish the entire movie just
took place there.
Instead of Sonic coming to our world, Jim Carrey, Robotnik, should have gone to Sonic's world.
I mean, I know they returned to it at some point. Because they showed him going through the ring portals. And he went back and forth through.
Yeah. And at the end of the first trailer, you see Jim Carrey with he's bald and the actual Robotnik look. So they're probably in a Sonic world in that scene. But it just I don't understand why they couldn't just make a movie about Sonic and his friends in their world. I don't understand why so many Hollywood adaptations of things like this feel the need to to keep it relatable or whatever. We need to put them in our world and have real world guys
hey,
react.
This reminds me of the Mario movie.
No.
This does not remind me of the Mario movie at all.
I mean, they put Mario and Luigi in the real world, but the actual Mario world was a different world.
But that was not the actual Mario world.
No, that was
if you have any idea what the Mario world is in comparison to the movie world, it's night and day.
But they saw mine and Gabe's opinions of that movie in the last.
Yeah, you can go back and listen to the last episode if you want to hear our thoughts on that.
You didn't come here to hear about the Mario movie.
So, all right, moving on. Disney Plus launched about a week ago, I think.
Very cool, very big.
Yes, and along with it came The Mandalorian, which we'll talk about soon. But something I wanted to briefly mention too was they changed the Han shot first scene again in the cantina. Did you know about this?
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah.
I saw
so
on
in Star Wars: A New Hope, they've changed the Han shot first scene 10 times now. So they clip his head over to the side to avoid the bullet, and so Greedo shot first or whatever. And then for whatever reason, I guess they wanted to just make it extremely clear that Greedo was the one that shot first with the intention of shooting first. So they just added another shot of Greedo right before he shoots, after he says I've been waiting for this for a long time. Han Solo's yes, I'll bet you have, and he just goes McClunky, and then he tries to shoot him and he fails at point blank range, but. It just, I don't really, it's hilarious to me that they changed it. Apparently this is something George Lucas wanted to do a while ago that they just finally implemented in this version. But I don't really get the point in changing the scene in the first place. I think it's better if Han shot first, and I think most people do. It's just hilarious to me that they're still changing it, and it's still just becoming more and more bizarre.
They can't just drop it.
Yeah.
They've changed the New Hope so many times. Yeah. At this point, just redo the movie.
They can't just leave well enough alone. Oh God! See, that's one of my worst fears is that eventually we're gonna get to a point where they're just gonna be like, okay, let's just reboot Star Wars and do it all over again.
Yeah, if they're gonna recycle every part of it, is it really the same movie?
No. Yeah, it's like if you take a car apart and replace all the parts and then put it back together, is it the same car? I don't know. It's still a good car, but just with really awful CGI.
Star Wars is never gonna they're gonna reboot Star Wars.
No.
I have a very important question.
Yes.
Did you guys watch Forky Ask a Question?
I did not watch Forky Asks a Question.
Haven't even seen.
He hasn't seen Toy Story 4.
Well, why are you here?
Because I saw Frozen 2 instead.
Yeah, you're right.
Were you going to say something about Forky Asks a Question?
No, neither of you saw it, so whatever.
Oh. Did you like it?
No.
Oh.
Forky is like a very cool, he's a very cool character.
That's a discussion for another day then.
There's spoilers.
All right. So Pokemon came out, which Nick is going to talk about.
Nick, take it
in detail very soon. But
I'm not talking
Nick,
about it.
But not yet. When we go around and
cool.
say, I just wanted to mention because that was kind of a big thing that happened. Trailer for the new Spongebob movie came out.
Yes.
We can all which Nick just saw for the first time in front of Frozen 2, which I was hoping would happen because he hadn't seen it. So what do you think about that?
You want me to comment
first?
Yes. Okay. I was cleaning my glasses. All right, so I thought that they were going in really like different direction that they went with like all the other movies, even that like they did the claymation.
All two of them.
Well, they had like their specials too, that claymation
like
thing.
the Christmas one.
Christmas one. Yeah. And then they did the normal cartoon things, but
yeah.
I like the way that this CGI looks.
Yeah, it almost does look like stop motion.
Yeah, but it's like I don't know. It looks so like almost cartoony.
Yeah.
But then it's like 3D.
Yeah.
It's much different than the way that they did it in the second movie.
It very much like like when they turn into superheroes and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like that was kind of a little bit generic. I still liked how they translated the designs to 3D in that movie, but I feel like this one is very like I think it's much more visually appealing. It's much more stylized.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of movies like Captain Underpants or like the Peanuts movie or something where it translates the 2D designs to 3D. It doesn't only do that well, but it also translates the actual animation very well. Like it does very much feel like SpongeBob, even though it's a very different type of animation. So.
And then, I mean, you gotta say they got Keanu Reeves.
One thing for me is I'm like, why are they still calling it SpongeBob when clearly Patrick is the main character?
Because it's the franchise.
But Patrick. What if they called it Patrick Seastar? They'd sell so many more movie tickets. Let's be real. I would buy 10 of them myself.
It's
Netflix?
like
I mean, it's really about Gary. I mean, you gotta find Gary. That's
that reminds me. Did you hear they're making a spinoff for Netflix about Squidward?
Yes, I did hear about that.
Why does Squidward get a spinoff, but not Patrick?
Because Patrick
is more worthy.
I feel like Patrick would be insufferable on his own, though. I feel like he works well as a companion character.
He's a buddy character.
I feel like he can't carry something on his own.
I think he can.
Isn't it supposed to be like an origin story about Squidward?
I don't know. I
Something
hope not.
like
I'm so sick of them like saying every time they have an idea for a spin-off, they're like, "Oh yeah, this is about going back.
Let's go
and,
back and show
back
them
to
where
the
he came
origins
from."
and explain every little
I
detail
feel like I
about
read something about it being like explaining
SpongeBob lore.
Yeah, explaining where Squidward came from.
It kind of reminds me of watching the SCOOB trailer.
Oh,
it's like they've redone that.
They've redone the origin story like 3 or 4
times, and I'm just like, even though I don't want to see another origin story, I feel like this one might be the best.
It probably will be, but that's not saying much. The other origin, like the TV one on Cartoon Network, like The Mystery Begins or something, that was not very good.
No.
Which I guess that was another thing that happened. The SCOOB trailer came out, but I didn't really have a lot to say about it. I think it looks fine.
I think it'll probably be one of the better Scooby-Doo movies.
Yeah. Well, because Scooby-Doo releases a direct-to-video movie every year. And a lot of them aren't that good. Like, I've been kind of sick of it, but... not that I've even been watching them.
I've
just the fact that they keep...
I just haven't, like, heard of any of them.
Yeah, I mean... They have at least 2 crossovers with the WWE at this point.
What?
Yeah. And they have...
They have to stay out of movies. WWE...
It's just... every time WWE gets involved in a property, I feel like... I'm still salty that Surf's Up 2 turned into a WWE tie-in.
Ruined Surf's Up.
Yeah, but... Yeah, I think Scoob is probably going to be one of the better Scooby-Doo movies overall, but compared to the massive amount of Scooby-Doo content that's just okay, I feel like that's not really saying a lot. So, I just hope it's good.
That's a franchise that needs to just stop so we can live with
They need to, I feel like Scoob would have much more of an impact if there was a break. If they stopped making Scooby-Doo for a while and then people started wanting it again. But they've been pumping out new shows and new direct-to-video movies every single year.
They're not making direct, like, a storyline. They're just releasing this.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what people want.
Yeah.
We want stuff like the MCU where it's direct.
It's
story.
connected. It's one story leads into the next.
Maybe they're trying to
build
restart
off of each
here.
other.
Maybe they're just trying to make a.
Well, that's why it's an origin story, and then they're gonna build a new franchise off of this.
It's gonna be the Scooby-Doo cinematic universe.
I heard originally that was the plan.
What?
Like they were gonna do. I don't know if that's what that turned into. Like I don't know if Scoob was something else that turned into this, but. I remember reading a thing a while ago that like Hanna-Barbera was gonna. Well, they're not really a company anymore. They just use the name for brand recognition.
Yeah.
But Warner Brothers was thinking about doing like a Hanna-Barbera live-action cinematic universe, and Scooby-Doo was gonna be the first movie. But I guess they kind of realized that was a pretty stupid idea.
That was kind of dumb.
So they're like, let's just do an animated one, and I think it's probably gonna be better off for it. Now, the last item on news before we go around and say what we've been playing, and I think this is appropriate because this is episode 3 of the podcast, a new Half-Life game got announced. It's not Half-Life 3, and it's not Half-Life 2 episode 3, it's a VR game called Half-Life Alyx that takes place before Half-Life 2 and after Half-Life 1. And I'm not really super into Half-Life. I've played a little bit of the first game. It just makes me so glad, not only that Valve is like actually making a big game again, but that they're returning to the Half-Life IP after so long. Because like, you know,
I thought it was dead.
Yeah, well, because they didn't give anyone any reason to believe there'd ever be another Half-Life game or another just like classic style Valve game again.
They used to tease about it all the time. They even stopped doing that. So
they just turned into like, you know, we have nothing new announced at this time.
Yeah, they used to like leak. I read that they actually like self-leaked a picture of one of the developers' screens, and one of the projects was titled Half-Life 3, and they did that on purpose to kind of like tease that they were gonna work on it.
Yeah. Well, they for the longest time they were talking about Half-Life Episode 3 or Half-Life 2 Episode 3, and then it just kind of, you know, it lingered in development, and I guess it just eventually it got canceled, but I guess they just didn't want to say that because they didn't want people to think they would never make another Half-Life game. Like there was always the chance, they just didn't want to say like, you know, it got canceled. I feel like they still probably should have, so they didn't leave people hanging. But I'm very glad that this is a thing that's happening, and I'm hoping that it eventually leads to Valve doing, because the fact that it's VR is really cool, and it really does look like they're like pushing the envelope of what a VR game can be, but I also want them to do more like just standard games, because I'm not in a position to spend a ton of money on another VR headset because I have a PSVR and it's not going to be on that.
I'm very excited for like the future of VR, and like I've been looking at some games that are out now that like you have the advanced motion controls with
Yeah.
different controllers, and it looks so cool.
Yeah.
I will never, in the foreseeable future, have a chance to try any of it.
Yeah.
But it's awesome.
Once it becomes more commonplace, I'm sure I'll get a VR headset for my PC. Like once the price gets a little bit lower and it's like, you know, they have newer models or whatever. In the meantime, I just hope that this game does well so that Valve gets
Portal
back
3,
into,
please.
they get back into making
Their
more,
game.
Yeah, like Valve games.
Valve games.
Not Artifact card games. Nick, do you have anything to say about that?
Nope, I've never played Half-Life. So.
Have you played Portal?
Fair enough. Have you played Portal?
Wait, really?
Dude.
I think I've played once.
Wait, did you play Left 4 Dead with us at all?
No.
Oh, man, dude.
You're missing
Now
out.
that you actually have a good computer, we need to get you some Valve games.
Yeah, we need to get you
Because they're
hooked on
expecting me
Valve.
to spend money.
I mean, you
worth
can.
it.
I mean, during the winter sale, you can get Portal 1 for like 99 cents. So
I think I've played Portal like once or twice, and it may have been here.
yeah, it was probably here. I probably made you play co-op with me a long time ago or something.
Yeah.
All right, so now I'm pretty sure that's that's everything I have written down. I don't know. I don't really think there's anything else. So let's go ahead and just go around and talk about what we've been playing and watching. Nick, I'm gonna let you go first.
Yes.
I was gonna let you go first.
I mean, do you want to go last because I'm
gonna
assuming you probably have the most to say.
Probably.
So, all right. I'll start off a small little conversation that I think we're all gonna have a little bit of a contribution to. I started watching The Mandalorian because Disney Plus came out.
Baby Yoda.
Baby Yoda is adorable. And I really like the series so far in general. I like how brutal it is at times. Because it does feel a little bit weird for a Star Wars thing to have sort of like more brutal moments in it. But I really liked the way that the tone was set in the first episode and the way that certain things about it were introduced to us. And I really liked the direction it started going in episode 2 with Baby Yoda.
It just feels it feels more real the way that they're like, approaching
I love
it.
how they're going with like the whole Western theme like the original Star Wars movies had.
Yeah.
Instead of this whole futuristic government politic that the prequels and sequels seem to.
Well, the sequels wasn't really like that. Not really.
Well, the sequels is more of like a dictatorship trying to take over the world, but
yeah.
I didn't like all the politics. I just like the action. This is all action.
Yeah,
this
there's
is
like
amazing.
it's straightforward and it
Well,
keeps
it's also
going.
like character conflict and drama because, you know, the Mandalorian is like a ruthless bounty hunter that's working for people that used to work for the Empire to make some money, and then Baby Yoda ends up being the target, and they have to kind of deal with that and like decide what they want to do. And I'm really interested to see where the show is going to go from here. At the time of recording, episode 3 is going to come out tomorrow, so we'll see what happens then. I don't really know how many episodes are supposed to be. Like 8?
I think 8, because that's what they're saying most of Disney Plus shows are supposed to be.
Yeah, like 6 or 8 part.
8-episode limited series.
Yeah.
I know that's what all the Marvel shows are.
I like that the Marvel shows are going to be limited. I don't know if they're going to do more of The Mandalorian after it's over, but I'm really interested to see where it goes from here.
We'll probably be touching on
It
the
really
Mandalorian
showed
for a while.
Yeah.
It really
As
showed
it
how
keeps coming
evil
out.
Jawas could be.
What?
The freaking Jawas.
Oh, yeah. I was watching it with my girlfriend Tati, and she said that they sounded just like Minions, and I couldn't unhear it the whole time because they actually do sound just like Minions, and it was really funny to like
I'm like picturing
listen
it
to
now.
that. If you go back and you watch the scene with the Jawas with that in mind, it's like impossible not to recognize.
Yeah.
We were also before that. We were gonna watch episode 1, and I thought it was funny just because I've been telling her like, you know, the prequels are way more boring, and like I think that was immediately apparent because the opening crawl in The Phantom Menace is about like trade disputes and like and like blockades and stuff. by like trade federations or whatever, and like, the opening crawl in like the original trilogy is like, there's the civil war going on between the rebels and the Empire. There's top secret information that's like urgent to the rebellion. And then in this one, it's just like
trade disputes have stopped.
How will they get out of this wacky situation?
They don't know how to get out of this one.
So it remains to be seen if we're actually going to finish that. I'm sure we'll be talking more about The Mandalorian as it continues to come out. But other than that, I also, in relation to Star Wars, I started playing Jedi Fallen Order, which came out recently too. No. And I'm really liking that game so far. I'm not really sure what games to compare it to. I've heard some comparisons to Dark Souls, but I've never played Dark Souls, so I can't really say whether that's accurate or not. But it's pretty challenging so far. I'm playing on like the medium difficulty. And I've been dying a lot. The lightsaber combat's really fun.
That sounds like Dark Souls.
Yeah. Each planet is kind of like its own little like I don't want to say like open world, because it is mostly linear, but there's like, extra paths that you can search, and there's places that you can like backtrack to once you get new abilities and stuff. There's a lot of stuff to customize.
That sounds a lot like every Pokemon game ever. It's super linear, but you can always go back.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the thing I can most directly compare it to, based on my own experience, is it's like Uncharted, but more open-ended. It almost, I don't know if either of you have played this. It's like Uncharted: The Lost Legacy.
No,
where that was the most recent Uncharted game that came out. And that game, for most of it, it's a big open space, and you can tackle the different areas in any order that you want. But once you get to each area, it sort of becomes like a linear puzzle and action segment. This kind of reminds me of that, but each level is kind of like that, instead of just having a hub that links to different areas. So I'm really liking that so far. And then just a couple other things I've been watching. I saw Jojo Rabbit in theaters a couple days ago. Or not a couple days ago. It was probably... I don't actually remember when I saw it. It was probably actually a couple days ago. But I really like that. I really like Taika Waititi's movies. And that's one of my favorites of his so far that I've seen. And I've also... I watched the first episode of the new season of Rick and Morty.
Oh, only the first one? I saw the second one too.
I haven't seen the second one yet. But I plan to watch it very soon. I did really like the first episode, and it very much does feel like what I would expect from a new season of Rick and Morty, so I can only imagine that that's going to continue into episode 2. So, yeah, that's what I've been up to.
Very cool.
Since last time. Gabe?
So, yeah, I've just been watching also Rick and Morty. I saw the second episode, and Taika Waititi is so...
Oh, I forgot he's in it.
Yeah, that's his episode.
He's in The Mandalorian, too.
Yeah, I know. He was the droid, right?
Yeah.
Dude, he's just killing it lately.
Yeah.
Go him. He's amazing.
he made one Marvel movie, and he blew up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all it takes.
My favorite movie of his is the one, I think he made it directly before Thor Ragnarok, Hunt for the Wilder People. That's one of my favorite movies.
I've heard of that, but I haven't seen it.
It's so good. Watch it. Anyway, continue.
So yeah, Taika Waititi's great. Rick and Morty, I rewatched a series called Magicians on Netflix, because I only saw the first 2 seasons, and I didn't know the third was on there. So I rewatched the first 2 seasons and then saw the third one. It's pretty good. I like it.
Cool.
It's funny. It's got lots of action and magic everywhere.
I could have predicted that. Magic everywhere. So wait, what is it like about?
It's about this.
Because it sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't really.
It's based on the book series, and
I've never heard of the book series.
Well, it's the same name. So there's this guy who he's like a normal magician, like does card tricks. He likes to like, you know, go around just showing people that, like, you know, magic is cool.
It's like
he's
Scott
always
Lang.
Scott
Lang and Ant-Man 2.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow. In some way. But he's always like believed in magic and like, you know, thought that it was real, thought like magical places were real, and then it turns out that he had this like magical ability in him, and this like magical school found him and took him in to like test him if he had any magic in him. And he gets enrolled into this magic school, starts learning it, but it turns out there's this whole like destiny plotted out for him and his friends that he has to get trained up to like kill this beast. That's what they call it.
Sounds like
That's
Harry
cool.
Potter.
And then lots of other things happen. I
am sure.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what happens.
No spoilers, but
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't know what
things
else.
happen.
Yeah. That's what I was watching.
Cool.
I haven't really been playing anything new.
I'm assuming you've probably played Gungeon since last time.
I have played Gungeon, of course. I played more FTL.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get the new Star Wars game.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm like a big fan of the Star Wars games.
Mm-hmm.
That they're all kind of different every time they come out. They're like,
well, because a lot of different developers have worked on Star Wars games over the years.
But it's always interesting. Like, I can't remember which one I had, but it was one on like, I think it was on like the DS or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, you get to play as like Anakin or something, and like, I don't remember much of the story. It was really fun.
Yeah.
Is my point. And it was very different than like, you know, like Battlefront and I guess this new game that came out. But they're always really cool. I want to get this new game.
Yeah. I'm glad that another good Star Wars game exists, because I was kind of disappointed with the last Battlefront games.
Yeah, that's that's the only thing. The one I don't want to.
Me too.
The classic Battlefront is what I refer to as Battlefront.
Yeah.
I kind of forget about the new Battlefront.
The new Battlefronts are like Call of Duty, but Star Wars version.
And with microtransactions.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Pay to win stuff, which, ugh.
Why would you buy a $60 game to pay more money?
Yeah.
I get if you're making mobile games and you put transactions in there because it's free. But why are you making me pay more money for?
It's bad.
Oh man.
I keep leaning back in this chair, and it sounds like it like farts.
Okay, PewDiePie.
It's like I'm just concerned that it's gonna sound like I'm just farting over and over again when we watch this back, because that has happened before where I've tried to record something and I lean back in the chair and it makes a fart noise. But I'm gonna try just to not. I'm just gonna try not to lean back.
Yeah, he's actually just.
He's
farting.
actually just farting. I'm sorry.
All right. So.
And then I've been playing Fortnite.
Have you actually?
Oh.
Okay.
Not at all.
Well, anyway, then moving on. So, Nick.
Yeah.
Pokemon.
I put 30 hours into that game. I have a ton to talk about. So first off.
So wait, okay, for real quick, let's check the timestamp that we're at.
Let's see.
Let's just see, and then just have an idea of how long you want to talk, and just.
Okay, let's get this started.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, so first, tutorial is almost non-existent in this game.
Thank God.
Compared to Sun and Moon, which if you played Sun and Moon, you realized I'm going through 3 fucking hours of tutorial.
Yeah.
I literally did not finish Sun and I got Moon. I couldn't finish it because I couldn't get through the tutorial.
Because I went and tried to replay Pokemon Ultra Sun before Sword and Shield came out. I couldn't get through the first island because the entire island's tutorial. And so when I was playing Sword and Shield, like, there's tutorial within the beginning, but, like, the story keeps pushing on instead of keeping you in one area.
Mm-hmm.
Like, 35 minutes into the game, you're already looking around the wild area. Like, it's not like you can do much in it because everything will kill you.
Yeah.
But, like, you're getting pushed into this open world, like, ginormous map in the first hour of the game, and I thought that was insane that they just pushed you in there.
Yeah.
But like I spent probably an hour walking around the wild area, doing raids, and like the first time going through there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I finally start the game. They have these cool cutscenes because that's what Pokemon does. And then, like, every single new Pokemon that I caught, like, it was just, I've never seen such a good roster. Like, you know, Sun and Moon, Black and White, and all those games, there were always those really gross Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like, Garbodor. Why is that a thing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, every new Pokemon, they, like, Sirfetch'd, Obstagoon, they were just all such a good Pokemon, and I don't know, I was impressed that they actually made, like, a full roster of Pokemon everyone wants to use.
Yeah.
And that really, like, it means a lot to the players who, they just cut half the Pokedex.
Yeah.
And so to have 100 new Pokemon that, like, is actually usable, like, it's really good.
Yeah. I've liked that this time they kind of kept the new Pokemon on the down low instead of revealing them all ahead of time.
The entire dex got leaked, but whatever.
I don't pay attention to the leaks. I feel like every Pokemon game gets leaked before it comes out.
Yeah. And another part of the game is, like, you played X and Y. You know
Yes.
how easy the game is because the EXP share is so unbalanced.
Yeah.
And Sun and Moon is the same way.
Mm-hmm.
They finally balanced the EXP share to where I was in the Elite Four and I had level 50s.
Mm-hmm.
The champion had his highest level was 65, and I was like, they fixed it.
Yeah.
The game is fixed. But I have heard that people are walking to the Elite Four with level 80s, but those are the people that stood in the wild area and caught every single Pokemon before they completed the game. But, like, I'm like, I don't want to do that because, like, that's the post game. Because I'm 30 hours in, I have over 150 Pokemon, and I'm working towards that 400. Mostly because I want the shiny charm.
Yeah. So, since a lot of the Pokemon got cut from this game, is the Pokedex in this game just doesn't have the other ones?
So, what the Pokedex in the game holds 400.
Okay.
But from what I know, when they people data mine the game, they found that there is like 50 to 100 different sprites of Pokemon that aren't in the dex. And so you like when Pokemon Home comes out, Pokemon like Squirtle, Bulbasaur, Mewtwo, I think Zekrom, Reshiram from Black and White, and then the starters from Alola were also in there, are going to be transferable, but it's only Pokemon they programmed into the game.
Okay. So not every Pokemon that was cut is going to come back, but like a handful will?
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
just the select.
Like they didn't cut them, you just can't use them until Home comes out.
Okay.
And if they see them online, that means they know you hacked the game.
Oh, yeah, true.
Because you shouldn't have them
That's true,
yet.
yeah.
I think it's kind of funny how like there was so much controversy surrounding this game leading up to its release, and now like
it's one of the highest selling Switch games of all time.
Yeah, it is not the highest selling in general, but it's the fastest selling Switch game in general.
I mean, that's what controversy could do.
Yeah.
It's just another way of publicity.
Yeah. I mean, I think the game probably would have sold well anyway, even if every single person was excited for it. Well, I mean, I guess obviously in that case it would sell well.
Yeah.
But I do think the controversy probably did play a role in getting it, like, you know.
It was trending on Twitter like 10 different times.
Yeah. Literally, like, thank you Game Freak was trending the day before Game Freak lied. And, like...
There was thank you Game Freak, and then fuck you Game Freak, and then Game Freak lied, and then there was just so much crap going on. There was the Nat Dexters.
I feel really bad for the devs at Game Freak, because I feel like a lot of the stuff that happened isn't really their fault. It was
and, like,
just
they couldn't, like, they didn't want to go and say, here's the game. Like, they didn't want to give us all the information.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, I looked at the starters, and not Sabo's evolution, but the other two the evolutions of the starters, they're like some of the best in a while.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot more that goes into cutting the decks than just like they were lazy.
Well, with X and Y, they can easily port all the Pokemon to Omega Ruby F Sapphire, which were ported to Sun and Moon.
Yeah.
They couldn't go and port the entire 3DS roster to the Switch game, especially when they wanted to go bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they wanted to put the Wild Area, they wanted Dynamaxing. Like, they couldn't add everything from the 3DS games back in.
Yeah.
Especially when Nintendo gives them such a short time period.
Yeah. The Pokemon Company wants yearly Pokemon releases.
I think it's Nintendo that does.
I heard it was the Pokemon Company. I might be wrong about that.
But like, I like how they did it with Let's Go, where they released a mediocre game, and then a really good game. Yeah, because they put time into one, and they.
I forgot Let's Go even came out.
I played a lot of Let's Go.
I knew I think about it from time to time, but I just don't really. I never played it.
The only reason I played so much Let's Go is because the shiny hunting was so easy, and it's the only time I actually had fun shiny hunting. Mm-hmm. So I'm like afraid after watching Jay Witz's video on shiny hunting Woo, I don't even want to try.
Yeah. Ugh. I would never even think. I would never even think about that if I was playing through Pokemon.
No, I'm not that. Yeah. Like, I'm not good.
Yeah.
Every Pokemon game I've ever played, I barely make it.
Yeah. I'm very much the type where, like, I just play the game. I don't spend too much time doing things other than just getting to the end of the game. I just, like, I make a team in the beginning, and then I train the team up, and then I go and fight the champions.
Thing. I've always been that type of person. I put a max of 20 to 25 hours in a game because I make the team, I train the team, beat the league.
Yeah.
But with Sword and Shield, with the whole wild area and all the max raid battles and like a push to actually catch all 400 Pokemon, because I think 300 are available in the wild area itself.
Yeah.
Like with all the places you can go. Yeah. Like it actually pushes you to want to try. And then with the online features, like when you're walking in the wild area, I don't know if I showed you guys, but like you see other like players walking around, their camp set up.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So like me and Jason, we see each other walking around everywhere. It's like, Jason, go back. He's like, nope, I have to go catch everything.
That's really
Is it easy to find like your friends online?
So basically, like if you don't have friends, they'll just put a bunch of random people from all over the world in your game. Uh-huh. But like since me and Jason have each other on our friends list, like we'd be able, like if we were in the same area, in the wild area, we'd see each other walking around.
So it always connects you with your friends.
I think so.
That's pretty cool.
Because whenever I'm playing, like whenever I'm doing a raid battle, Jason can see I'm starting one, and he can join it.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's kind of like games like Journey or like one other. There's other games that did it. There's one that did it recently that I can't remember, but just like that kind of just adds to like the sense of community, I guess. Mm-hmm. Especially for Pokemon when everyone's going out and like
the worst type of people though are when they go into raid battles and use Earthquake and kill your entire side. Because once during a raid battle, if 4 Pokemon faint, then it's over. Yeah. So when you kill all your teammates, you're not catching the Pokemon.
Feels bad. So did you? Yeah. So did you actually like make it to the end yet, or have you just?
Yeah, I beat the game.
Okay.
Oh,
I've spent 10 hours in the wild area catching stuff and doing raid battles since after the post game.
Okay. Yeah. See that was like when I played Mario Odyssey, and I spent most of my time with that game in the post game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like, you get there so fast.
Like
really.
Sword and Shield has so much post game that you just keep going and you don't know how.
There's things
when or how to stop.
Yeah, things are unlocked after you beat the game.
Especially with Pokemon, like you've heard of the whole competitive battling thing, how it's been so complicated to get into. Mm-hmm. They made the Pokemon company made try their hardest to make sure every player can it's accessible to do competitive battling, because TMs you use they made these things called TRs, which are like TMs with only one use, but you get them from the raid battles and they're just all the powerful moves. And then there's also nature changing candies, which the natures change the stats of the Pokemon to make them more powerful in areas. And so they just they made it so you can change your Pokemon to how you want on the battle, instead of having, because competitive's always been like, I'm gonna breed Pokemon until I get the perfect one, and that's what's always pushed me away from it. I don't want to spend 15 hours breeding for the perfect Pokemon. When now you can just make it yourself. Cool.
I feel like there's so much more to Pokemon than I know. I've played a good amount of the games, and I haven't figured out how to do any of these things.
That's the thing. Sword and Shield pushes it on you, and I really like that because no other game has done that.
I think the only one that I actually invested so much time in was Dungeon.
Well, that's Mystery Dungeon?
Mystery Dungeon.
Yeah, that's a completely different...
Didn't I let you borrow
You
that
let me,
for a while?
yeah.
Because that's like a top tier game.
Yeah, it was so fun.
Yeah, I played, like, spin-offs. Like, I played, like... Before I actually got into the main Pokemon games, I played, like, Poke Park on the Wii.
Oh, wow,
and,
really?
like, yeah. Like, my sisters and I were really into that game.
I think that came
I played,
Wii.
like, Pokemon Rumble.
I think it was also on my Wii.
Yeah. And then my first Pokemon that I actually played and beat properly was Pokemon Y. And I really liked that game.
Is that the only one you played?
I beat Alpha Sapphire too,
Alpha
and I like that
Sapphire.
one even better than Y.
My
And
favorite's
then
still
Moon
Leaf.
happened.
Yeah,
Leaf
and then
Green
I
was the
just
first
couldn't
one I
get through
did.
the beginning of Moon.
See, I feel like you would really like Sword or Shield.
Yeah.
Because, like, it pushes you into the game, and then there's post-game content that you'd actually enjoy doing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'd like to actually get invested in a game that would, it has all these mechanics that I could actually understand and then get into and train Pokemon in a way that's not just breeding them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't breed. I have no patience at all.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's not for me. But I'm happy they finally implemented so many features to where someone...
I've been hearing a lot about the quality of life stuff in Sword and Shield.
Yeah, and that's what their main focus was. And now everyone's realizing, why did we cause them so much stress?
Yeah.
They were just trying to help us.
Yeah. Well, what would you say? I mean, I don't really know how to ask you to rate this game. But
He's going to give it, like, the
It's
highest
the
rating
highest.
he can.
No, because
Yeah.
it's not the best game. Like, in my opinion, the Black and White 2 were the best Pokemon games because it was, like, everything about it was, like, just right.
Yeah.
In these games, they had kind of a terrible story.
Sword and Shield did?
Yeah. Sword and Shield, like, the story wasn't that good.
Yeah.
Like,
I've never really cared about the story.
Yeah,
of
that's what
Pokemon
I'm saying,
games.
like-
Yeah.
no one cares about it, but, like, sometimes, like...
when they do it well, then it's noticeable.
Like, when I played X and Y, the story is completely god-awful, and it's noticeable, but, like, I still enjoy playing the game.
Yeah.
I at least know that some of the games have, like, a story. I have no idea what Sword and Shield story even is.
Well, because they
don't really advertise that stuff ahead of time.
Yeah.
It's just kind of something you discover while you play the game.
Yeah.
So, I think I really like Team Yell. They were one of my favorite teams, mostly because they were similar to Skull and how they weren't, like, actually evil.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can see that from the trailers, they're just a fan club. The music in Sword and Shield, probably the best of all Pokemon.
Mm.
Except Mystery Dungeon, that tops it, but that's
Yes,
different.
true.
That's the side game, like we said.
Yeah.
Toby Fox's full song. Wow. So good.
He always is so
Like
good.
I said, the wild area, I give it a 9 out of 10. Like, everything they added,
Mm-hmm.
like, versus what they took away, just gives it so much more positive than negative.
Yeah. I do definitely want to try it eventually. I just kind of feel like I have an obligation to finish Moon before I do.
No, just give up.
Because
It's not
You're not
that
gonna
good
want
of a
to finish
game.
it just to
Like,
start all over.
most
This
of your
new
Pokemon
game.
from Moon won't be able to go anyways.
Yeah, but I never really cared about that in the first place. So.
Like, if Moon is what's holding you back, then I say just give up on Moon. It's not that good of a, like,
Yeah.
I think the only good part of Moon is the story, and then Ultra Moon did it better.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, all right. Maybe I'll have to give it a shot sometime soon then.
Hey, Christmas is coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christmas is coming.
Christmas is coming.
And
Yeah.
if Christmas is cold and things get frozen. Let's move
Gabriel.
Gabe, I'm the one supposed to make sequences.
Who put you in charge of terrible segues?
Well, I thought it was about time that I made one.
Yeah, it's so funny because we had so much to talk about this time, especially with like all the stuff that's happened since we're recording this later than usual, and the fact that Pokemon came out, that this is already the length of like our last 2 episodes.
Actually, the first one was an hour.
The first one was like 55 minutes, I think. Second one was like 45. This one is probably going to be around an hour and a half.
Yeah, oh well.
But now we actually get to talk about the main topic, Frozen 2.
Let it go. Oh.
No.
Not wrong movie.
Yeah. So I guess
definite spoiler warning.
Well, I think what we should do, since this movie is brand new, and there's probably, I mean, if people are listening to this when it comes out, they might not have seen the movie yet. So I feel like we should probably do spoiler free in the beginning, and then just
that's fair.
Give kind of our general thoughts on it, and then go into spoilers a little bit later.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, Frozen 2. We just watched it. We came back from the theater. We talked about a bunch of other stuff. And now our minds are going to loop back around to remember what we think about this movie.
Oh,
so
yeah, I have to think about a lot of things. All right. Definitely a lot better than you'll think it's going to be.
Really?
It's a lot better than I thought it was.
I assume it was going to be good out of
Chris,
the gate.
I want you to know the only reason I told you let's go see Frozen 2 is because I thought we were going to meme on it, but I really enjoyed the movie.
I love Frozen 1, but I didn't think it was going to be like...
I didn't think it'd be better.
I didn't think it was going to be as good even.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a good movie that I could like watch and have a good time. It would be entertaining.
I was hoping it would at least be like... Yeah, I was hoping it would at least be as good as the first one. In terms of my overall opinion, I feel like the first one is a lot more cohesive than this one in general. It very much has more of a narrative through line than...
It's more together.
Yeah, the second one, I feel like, because there's parts of it that disappoint me a little bit, because the first trailer that came out for this movie... And I feel like the second trailer, I don't really know if I even watched it, but it felt like they were really, in the first trailer at least, it felt like they were really leaning in heavily to like the fantasy elements of Frozen, and it was going to be, I wasn't really expecting it to be a dark movie, because it is a Disney movie after all, but it did kind of seem like they were going for something a little bit more dramatic, and I was into that.
And it just wasn't as dramatic as
the second half of the movie, I feel like, is very much what I was hoping for the entire movie to be. Yeah. The first half of the movie is good, and I enjoyed it, but I feel like I enjoyed the first half and the second half for completely different reasons, and I feel like they don't flow together as well as I would like them to.
Yeah. I kind of noticed that with like the first movie too. It's like they always start off like super light, go happy, and then they have a dark twist.
It almost reminded me of Steven Universe the movie in a way. I don't think either of you've seen it.
No.
But this is I don't really know if I want to go into spoilers just yet, because this is kind of a minor spoiler. So I guess I'll just wait to mention that connection until a little bit later. But in terms of my general thoughts, I did really like the movie in general. I do wish it kind of would stick to one thing, because I felt like in terms of the disconnect between the first half and the second half, I feel like it's kind of tonally a little bit weird. And like I said, it doesn't really flow together as much as I would like it to. But I still really enjoyed it regardless. There's a lot of stuff in there. The first half especially I thought was funnier than the first movie.
The entire movie was funnier than
the first movie.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I think much more meta than the first movie, which I was not expecting at all.
There's so many.
I think your biggest problem is that it's Disney trying, like, there's half the movie is Disney's trying to be all happy princess, yay. And then the second half of the movie is what they really wanted the movie to be, but they're battling Disney's vision of princesses, and they're like, we don't want this, we want this. But Disney's like, no, we want princesses. But the directors are like, no, we don't want that. So it's
I don't even know if I would say that, because I feel like some of the stuff in the first half especially is so bizarre and unexpected, especially from what I was like anticipating going into it, to where it does. Even leaned over to Gabriel a couple times in the movie, and I said this. It does feel like there are certain parts of the movie where Disney was like, "You guys can just do whatever the fuck you want. We know this movie is gonna make money, so just have fun with it.
I think
make a sequel. We'll put it out. It's gonna be great."
See, I feel like the people all working on the movie just like they're like, Disney, can you just leave us alone this time and let us handle this?
Yeah.
We want to pull a Taika Waititi, and they're like, please, no, not again.
I mean, I like the way that they went with it, the way it turned out.
Mm-hmm.
I think that them not having as much of like a authoritative like say in what I mean I don't know.
We can't
for
even
sure,
say for sure if that's.
but
it definitely does feel like
loose.
that.
It feels like more of a you know, emotional thing.
And it does feel different in general than a lot of stuff that Disney has put out before.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that about it.
Like even a lot of the stuff going on Disney, like the new stuff on Disney Plus, it still feels super Disney. But the only Disney, like super Disney feeling I got from this movie was the intro.
Yeah. So I guess right now, I guess to kind of go more in depth, we kind of have to go into spoilers. I'll try to keep them relatively minor.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
But.
Don't give away everything.
Yeah, but just, spoiler warning in case you haven't seen it. We all highly recommend this movie. Recommend you go see it.
Yeah. You want to give it a score right now or later?
I'll wait till later to give it a score. It has my recommendation.
We can do timestamp.
We'll do a timestamp for
the
score.
skip to the end if you want to know our scores.
In the description, probably.
We think the movie's good, and we think you should go see it.
Yeah, do that.
So, I guess now we're in spoilers. I said a little bit earlier that this kind of reminded me of Steven Universe, the movie. And the reason for that is that, and people who've seen both movies will know what I'm talking about, where they both open with a song about how since the last time we saw them, everything is perfect and they don't ever want anything to change. And it's so obviously foreshadowing that everything is about to get fucked up.
Yeah.
Is it bad? I really enjoyed that song.
Well, no, it's a good song. I'm just saying it's not subtle in the slightest that it's setting up that everything is gonna.
I think that's the most Disney part about this movie.
Yeah.
Is that they're like, we're gonna set this movie up and you guys do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah,
right
yeah.
Most all their movies are like so predictable.
Mm-hmm.
And then I mean, Frozen's good at adding a good twist.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I didn't expect Hans to be bad at all. I actually did not see that coming.
Yeah, and I mentioned this to you too. It's kind of fucked up that they made the villain of the story Hans when the original story that Frozen is based off of was written by a guy named Hans. It kind of just feels like they're like spitting in the face of the guy that made up the original story.
It's like, thank you.
Yeah. Now and then they literally the entire movie, like every time he comes up, they just throw shade at him as hard as possible. Not the real Hans that wrote the story originally, but the Hans the character. Like there's so many times where like he gets brought up and they're like, oh, like Anna, like that's the worst mistake you've ever made, and like the ice statue of him getting shattered or whatever.
Yeah, Elsa just destroys an ice statue of him and walks away with sass.
Yeah.
Okay, but I want to talk about the best song in all of Disney history, Kristoff's song.
Oh my god.
Stuck in the Woods, man.
Kristoff's song in this movie. I know I said minor spoilers, but in case you haven't seen it, Kristoff has a song in this movie, and it's
the best.
It does not. I feel like
it's its own thing.
I didn't even really know what to think about it. It's hilarious, and it very much plays out like a super melodramatic music video. And I feel like they could have played the song up to be serious, but the way it's presented makes it seem like you're not supposed to take it serious.
I blinked for a second, and I was out of Frozen 2, and I was with Kristoff and the Kristoffs and their new hit single.
There's like multiple like
stuck in the woods.
Kristoff faces around the screen, multiple reindeer faces. I almost feel like if the movie was going to be, I don't like the way I said that. If it was going to be the more dramatic movie that I had hoped that it would be. I feel like Kristoff's song would have been like a bonus feature on the Blu-ray, like just a fun little thing you can watch after the fact, because it really doesn't fit in with the rest of the movie at all. I felt like Kristoff in general didn't fit in with the rest of the movie at all.
That's why he wasn't in the majority of
but literally his only character arc is that he wants to propose to Elsa and he keeps failing.
Frozen 2
kind of is the comic
reminds
relief,
me so much of Thor Ragnarok, because there's just so much like going on, and then there's always this one thing that's out of place, which we all know was Jeff Goldblum.
Kristoff is Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, they cut back to him and he's just doing his own thing. Like, yeah, I did not
we'll
like.
Get on it. Don't let her escape this.
Don't let her escape Arendelle. But I think I didn't really like Kristoff in this movie. I like Kristoff as a character. I don't think he fit in. I feel like he probably should have just stayed with the people of Arendelle. But you know, I guess they kind of need him there so that he can come to the rescue
at the
later,
end. Like, I mean, he had a point in the story.
It was more of comedic relief, because imagine if you took that song out, there would have been too much of this drama in this one area.
But I feel like Olaf is all the comedic relief you need
for a nice dramatic story. That he makes no sense.
Yeah.
Except just for being a savior.
But
the child in me, I loved watching that. I laughed hardest there than any Disney movie.
But
ever.
It's just so out of left field, and it's so different than the rest of the movie that it's it does feel like, they're like, oh, we can do whatever we want with this. Let's do a super corny, intentionally corny music video with Kristoff.
Yeah, and then they just had the faded out Kristoff appear next to him.
Yeah. But the real comic relief for this movie is Olaf.
Olaf was amazing.
Olaf was incredible in this movie.
Olaf is just the best Disney character of all time.
He's having an existential crisis because he's existed for longer than any snowman, and he's just thinking about how nothing makes sense to him, and he's just assuming that he'll understand more things with age.
Yeah. And
he sings a song that's very much just a follow-up to In Summer from the first movie, but I didn't really mind that much. That does kind of seem scenes like this, I feel like Kristoff's song and Olaf's song and all that stuff, it does very much kind of create the break in between the second and first half of the movie that kind of bothered me a little bit, just because they're so different in terms of tone and they don't really add anything to the story, because there is an end goal from the beginning of this movie, but until they actually get to a certain point in the movie, they aren't doing a whole lot to actually get there other than going to the woods. It's just they go to the woods and then things start happening and they react to them.
Yeah.
And then eventually they find something that puts them on the right path. But even still, even though that narrative, kind of break in the cohesion bothers me a little bit, I still enjoyed each of the individual scenes on their own. I still enjoyed Olaf's song, and I still enjoyed Kristoff's song, even though they were super bizarre.
I think it was just the Frozen 2 writers being like, we should give every main character their own song.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I Olaf's song was okay. It was more just his
Olaf's presence in the movie was great.
Because if you wouldn't listen to the song on Spotify, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
If you listen to Kristoff's song on Spotify,
that is Kristoff's song. You listen to the Weezer version. There was a Weezer version that played at the end.
And I feel like that is the perfect band to cover Kristoff's song. It's perfect for conveying the tone.
I'm gonna download that and listen to it forever.
We'll listen to it right after.
But no, it's his blatant sarcasm and melancholy tone throughout the whole film. Just his dialogue was great.
Yeah.
I feel
Olaf, not Kristoff.
No, not Kristoff.
Yeah. Oh, because he just constantly just makes these comments. It's stuff you would never really expect to hear in a traditional Disney movie, but you kind of feel like they're moving forward with sort of understanding the audience a little bit more, and I guess just becoming a little bit more self-aware. But yeah, I did like Olaf in the first movie, but I liked him way more in this one. I just thought his whole dilemma was really funny.
So many parts of this movie were just So iconic and hilarious.
Anna and Elsa in this movie, I really like both of them. I feel like their relationship, I like their relationship, but I also feel like it gets a little bit repetitive.
Yeah.
Just because it's always about, like, Elsa's trying to run off and do things on her own because she's scared about hurting the others. And Anna's constantly telling her, we need to do this as a team.
Yeah, and then she goes off and does something on her own, and it hurts them.
And it's like, I do very much, like, I like their dynamic, and they have good chemistry together, but I was hoping that it'd be a little bit more than just, like, you know, that argument over and over again. Yeah. And in the end, you know, she does go off on her own. They do get separated, but it ends up being, like, for the better.
Yeah, so and they still met up. I mean, like,
I think
they
that,
weren't
like,
gone forever.
Yeah. I think that, how big of a spoiler? Should I go?
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll just say major spoilers.
Okay, major
starting
spoilers
now. We're just gonna crack this whole thing open.
The end of the movie, when, like, they're separated, I feel like if they do go on to finish a trilogy, like, because that's what Disney does, they never leave movies unfinished. Like, now that they're in two separate kingdoms.
But I feel like this movie kind of concluded pretty well, though.
I think I read that they were talking about a third one already.
I'm sure they are. Because this movie's definitely going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, but
I did like where this one ended off, and I feel like if they didn't make a third one, I'd be
satisfied. Okay. I'd be okay with
Disney never leaves it off at 2. We know this.
What about Wreck-It Ralph?
The third one's coming out soon.
No, but, like, I feel like if a third movie does happen, because, like, they separated the two sisters, like, one's living in the forest now, one's living in the kingdom. Like, now since they're having this separate, or, like, they're having
lives.
Yeah, they're having their separate lives, and, like, so it'll create, like, they don't need each other all the time. But whatever adventure comes up next,
then they need to
like,
join up again.
They won't be like jumping on each other.
I don't want a whole movie, but I would like a short just to see how I wonder what Anna's like as a queen.
Let's do a series on it.
I think that's true, like, in terms of the ending, but I was even thinking, like, even earlier than that, when, like, Elsa goes off to find, like, the magical place, like, on her own, and it does end up being, like, that was the right call, because Anna probably would have died, and she wouldn't have been there to break the dam down, which is, like, the central, the central, plot device of this, I guess, that you don't really know until the end.
I didn't expect the dam to be the problem.
Yeah.
Like, I was surprised.
It's symbolic.
You know that, like, it's either that tribe turned against the Arendelle people, or the people turned on the tribe. Someone had to attack first.
Yeah.
And I could see it being the grandpa. And
he's just racist against magic people.
Yeah, he's just magic is bad because think they're better than us, so let's kill them all.
Jeez. Yeah. So I guess now that we're talking about major spoilers, in terms of, just to kind of clarify what I've been saying this whole review, I think the moment this movie really got good for me was the moment they find the ship, like, that their parents got shipwrecked with.
Yeah.
Because that's when they find the map, and that's when Elsa finds out that's where she needs to go. And that is when the movie kind of turns into something that's a little bit more dramatic. It does kind of... This movie, I was glad to see it did lean into the fantasy end of it a little bit more. There is a lot of there's a lot of world building in this movie that I appreciated that stuff. But I feel like it starts to actually, like, be impactful in the second half. And there's a lot of really amazing, like, visuals in the second half of the movie that I was hoping would carry over the whole thing. Because the movie in general is really gorgeous. Like at this point, like, really good animation is something that we've come to expect from modern Disney movies and just modern 3D CGI movies in general. But I feel like, especially once Elsa goes off on her own to try to find this place, there's a lot of really creative imagery, and there's a lot of darkness contrasting with like bright blues and stuff. It just looks really pretty.
Yeah.
And I feel like those sequences were definitely some of my favorite in the movie. And even outside of just the visuals, there's the whole scene where like Olaf dies because the magic fades away, and of course I was expecting him to come back in the end. He does.
Of course he does.
But they can't. It is a Disney movie. They need to have a happy ending. But it does kind of feel like it is going for something a little bit darker than usual towards the end, and I appreciated that about it.
When Elsa died,
yeah,
quote, I didn't really feel much because like it seemed very obvious that she was gonna come back.
Yeah, it wasn't really.
But when Olaf died, you get sad, even though you know he's coming back.
Dude,
it's just kind of.
Because like they made it emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Like they kind of like took Elsa out real quick and like they just had her like frozen there in ice. I feel like they shouldn't have.
And they froze her the same exact. It looks the same. It
same
looks
way
just like
Anna
was in the first one. So
But
you kind of know that she's gonna get thawed out.
I feel like they shouldn't have showed us that Elsa got out.
Yeah.
They should have just had her coming back on the horse.
Yeah.
Like as
Yeah.
the big reveal.
Yeah.
Because that would have been way cooler than just seeing her like get out and then seeing Anna all sad and we're like, oh well, she'll be fine when she sees her.
Yeah. Because even though we know she's gonna come back, like it is, that would be a little bit better at like making the reveal more impactful that she's okay.
Yeah.
And also, if we don't know that she's okay, then we don't know that she's going to be able to save Arendelle from the flood.
Yeah.
Because, as soon as she woke up, I was like, oh, okay, she's going to freeze the water, and then, Arendelle's going to be okay.
Yeah.
But if assuming that she's not around to do that, then it, leads you to believe that, Arendelle's going to get destroyed by the flood. So.
Oh, they should have had, like, Anna go back to the kingdom and then see that there's a giant ice wall and be very confused. Oh, wait, well, I mean, I guess that actually got destroyed, didn't it?
The ice wall, yeah.
The ice wall just...
It was just made to stop the momentum of the wave.
Well, she should have saw that the kingdom was still there and then been like, what's going on? And then Elsa should have came and revealed herself.
They want to be able to do that cool, like, she's on the hill and sees a water horse run to her if she went back to the kingdom.
Yeah, the water horse was really cool.
I love the
water horse.
And not
great.
The movie, The Water Horse.
Not the one.
That really ugly
Gabe, I was
looking.
so tempted the entire time to whisper in your ear, water sheep.
Water sheep. Oh, what a bad water sheep turned good. You don't know. You don't understand.
Okay, I'm not even gonna ask.
You won't understand.
Water sheep, guys. Message is brought to you by PewDiePie Game.
Stop. All right, so now I understand that's just.
It's a PewDiePie thing.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Perfect. So, I do kind of wish that this movie delivered on what the first trailer delivered or just made it seem like it was going to be. I assumed it wasn't going to be like that, but it does kind of seem a little bit misleading because there's a shot in that trailer of like Kristoff riding, like he's like has like an intense face and he's like riding Sven while all the reindeer are following behind him, and it's like made to be like an intense moment. And then in the actual movie, it's part of his music video for his song, and it's like bright colors, and it lasts 2 seconds. And
because
that was so funny, but like I was kind of disappointed in that scene, like because I saw that scene where he was running. I'm like, that's what they used it for.
Yeah,
I think because I went into the movie not expecting anything. Cause like I said we should see Frozen as a joke because I didn't know if it was actually going to be a good movie. It was just we should just go see it. And so I walked in there and I'm like, this is one of the funniest movies I've seen in a long time. Because like, we don't get a lot of funny movies anymore. Yeah. It's just like MCU movies have their type of funny, but it's like...
They have humor in them, but they're not comedies.
Yeah.
And like, this isn't even really a comedy, but it was really funny.
I was laughing the entire time.
Yeah.
Like... I don't know.
Unexpectedly so, too.
Because like you walk into a Marvel movie, you know you're gonna laugh.
Yeah.
But it's like it's not as much. Like this time, I was like dying of laughter. I don't know if there was another movie this year like that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about it.
Did Tag come out this year?
I don't know.
No,
I think it came out last
Tag
year.
was
Dang
last
it.
year. I remember dying during that movie.
Yeah, but
No.
even still, like I keep talking about what I wanted this movie to be. Even as what it is, I still think it's a really good movie.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like it could be a little bit more coherent.
I mean,
I do kind of almost not want it to be coherent, just because it
Toy
does.
Story 4, that was another movie that killed me this year.
Oh yeah, that movie was really funny too. Gabe needs to watch it.
I need to watch it,
but
apparently.
yeah, I mean, it does bother me, but at the same time, I don't know if I would change it.
Like after watching the movie,
some of the stuff that is part of that kind of like
mess.
yeah, I guess that's one word for it. I wouldn't want to get rid of it. Like Kristoff's song is ridiculous and doesn't fit into the rest of the movie at all.
It's
But
so
I loved
good.
it, so I don't think I would want to get rid of it. You know,
that's the only
there
song
are a
that
few
got a lot of
scenes, like-
clapping.
They should just have
Yeah.
had 2 movies, and one was the Dark Story.
one of
and
them was
one-
Frozen 1, and the
No.
other one was Frozen 2.
And on that note,
I guess overall, this movie did have some of what I really wanted to see in it. Overall, I think it's really good. It is. I do feel like there is some stuff in the first half of it that I would change if I could, just to kind of make it flow a little bit better. But
Don't take the first song away. That was my favorite one.
the one about how everything is great, and then 2 seconds later, like, she.
I just really enjoyed the song because they used the entire cast for that one song.
Yeah.
And that was the only time they did
I was
that.
surprised they didn't have a song to close out the movie. I was fully expecting a reprise of the first song.
I feel like Weezer was better.
That was the way to go, you think?
Yeah, they couldn't have done that any better.
Yeah.
Take back the best song in the movie and give it to Weezer.
Yeah. Alright, so, I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say about Frozen 2. I think it's really good. I think it's beautifully animated, a little bit
Very
tonally
pretty.
inconsistent, but still a great time from start to finish. I would gladly watch it again.
Okay, guys, it's time.
I
Movie review.
Don't
Rating.
stop it.
Hey, let me be.
No.
Rating.
Oh yeah,
You're not
this
him.
is the part that everyone that didn't want spoilers skipped to.
Oh,
So-
hey, welcome back, everybody. We talked movie very good. I will rate it 15 flaming lizards out of 17.4 Kristoff stuck in the woods.
I feel like we're gonna just get worse specifics of the ratings every episode. I forgot about the flaming lizard. He was cute.
Yeah, he was
And
great.
that's all I have to say about it.
Sorry, we weren't really done with the spoilers, I guess. There is a lizard. Sorry.
Sorry.
Oh well. I don't care.
I mean, you saw Tangled. You know how it goes.
You know there's lizards in modern Disney movies.
Yeah, lizards, they exist. Reptiles, they have representation.
Anyway, Nick, your score.
My score? Oh, yeah.
Any day now.
I'm going to
remember.
say about 8 ice cubes out of 10 ice cubes.
That's
Yes.
actually kind of close to mine. I was gonna say I would give it 3.5 icicles out of Ice Cube the Rapper.
Okay, it's time to end it. I'm done with you guys.
Gotta go with iced tea.
Yeah.
It's
And
2
I can't
o'clock
wait
in the morning.
for Frozen
They didn't
3
even know that.
and Wreck-It Ralph 3 and
Oh, yeah,
Portal
Portal
3,
3, and
Half-Life
Half-Life
3,
Don't forget about
and
Pokemon
Left 4 Dead
3.
3,
Pirates
Pokemon
3.
3, Pirates of the Caribbean 3,
Very
which
good.
will probably, I mean, eventually, Gabe's been begging me to watch Pirates of the Caribbean 3.
Such a good movie.
Why don't
I've
we watch
seen it
tonight?
before. I just think it's kind of boring.
All right.
So
Wait
maybe
a sec-
maybe
wait.
that'll be an episode for another time.
Gabe,
We're going to go watch Pirates 3 now.
Uh,
Thank you for
I
tuning
know.
Thank you for
We're not gonna
tuning
do
in to
that.
episode 3.
in.
Episode 3.
And this is our last. I'm kidding. You'll see us again
Hopefully.
in
Unless
2
COPPA arrests
weeks.
us, but whatever.
Yeah, well, we're gonna look on the bright side for now. If
Isn't
we
that
can
a
find
song?
it.
If we can
Mr. Brightside.
Alright, well,
We're
this has
gonna
been
look at
fun.
that.
Thank you for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you next time, assuming there is a next time.
There's probably gonna
2
be.
weeks from now.
There's definitely a next time.
Yeah. Why wouldn't there be?
Bye!
Bye!